Those of us involved in this program want to send our prayers out across the globe to all that have been affected by the coronavirus. We're thankful to have had these adventures prior to the COVID-19 pandemic to share with you now. We hope the next 30 minutes will bring you some pleasant distractions. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the program, and please stay safe. If you're a person who likes adventure and loves running into the unexpected, then join us and become the surprise traveler. See beautiful landscapes, wildlife revealing their secrets, fascinating architecture, we know you, as our fellow travelers, will cherish the journey. Amazing people and cultures that we cannot resist. Stories that captivate us. And share a laugh with us at the funny happenstances we stumble upon. Wonderful, spellbinding surprises await us as we take adventures around the globe. Every continent and country has its own treasures to be explored. Hello, welcome to episode 3 of The Surprise Traveler. My name is Doug Chrisman, and I'm your host for this episode. In our first 2 previous episodes, we explored just a little piece of the 2 largest continents in the world, Asia and Africa. In this episode, we're heading to Europe, one of the smallest continents in the world. Our destination is Great Britain, which is directly north of France, separated from mainland Europe by the English Channel and the North Sea. This is a very important island in our world. It is made up of England in the south, Wales in the west central, and Scotland in the north. This episode is part 1 of our 2-part adventure of Great Britain, where we explore Scotland and England. In this episode, we explore the north, the country of Scotland. If you have any interest in lovely vistas by the sea, rugged beauty in the mountains, hardy people, beautiful stone palaces, castles and churches, Neolithic or medieval history, stick close to us. We're about to begin our exploration of central and northern Scotland. But first, let's learn some fun facts about the country of Scotland itself. Did you know no location in Great Britain is further away from the sea than 125 kilometers or 77 miles, and the water is not warm? The North Sea average temperature in summer is 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and 6 degrees Celsius, 43 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. North Atlantic average temperature in the summer is 28.5 degrees centigrade, that's 68.9 degrees Fahrenheit, and 12.8 degrees centigrade, or 55.1 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. I didn't see anyone swimming in June. Did you know Scotland's official animal is the unicorn? That's kind of fun. Did you know Scotland has the highest number of redheads per capita in the world? About 13%. Ginger hair, as they say in Scotland. I can relate to that since I had bright red hair as a kid and into early adulthood. One wise man told me when I was about 7, if anyone asks me where I got my red hair, to tell them I went through hell with my hat off. But since it's changed over the years to white, maybe I just didn't drink enough of that Scottish whiskey to keep the fire burning. Speaking of whiskey, did you know Scottish whiskey is the biggest exported product from Scotland? But it was actually invented in China. We pass by a lot of distilleries, but we don't stop. It's estimated that the Scots produce 39 bottles of whiskey every second. Who do you think can keep up with that level of consumption? Are you a Scotch connoisseur? A lot of people have their favorite Scotch. It's like a ritual. We start our adventure in the central lowland region of Scotland. We arrive in Edinburgh, the capital, steeped in medieval history and Scottish traditions. After a 5-day visit to the central lowland region, we continue on to explore the Highlands region in the north, and another section of the lowlands called the Grampian area in the northeast, and finally, the Highlands' western Isle of Skye's Trotternish area. We also leave the mainland of Scotland and sail north to a separate region to visit the Orkney Islands. Let's take a tour of Edinburgh. Here are a few fun facts. Did you know J.K. Rowling wrote the majority of the Harry Potter books while living in Edinburgh? When you see the city architecture, you'll understand why these surroundings helped to inspire her to create the wonderful settings in her stories. Did you know Edinburgh Castle sits on Castle Rock, an extinct volcano? We had some unexpected fun at the castle with a marching band and the shooting of the castle cannon. This is what you hope never happens to you. We had a little better luck with the band. Did you know Edinburgh has more trees per capita than any other city in the UK? Did you know the initials HM refer to Her Majesty? At present, that is Queen Elizabeth II. These initials appear as we board the decommissioned yacht Britannia and on the ship's bell. As we begin to explore, we see the main outside deck. Just off the deck is a bar, royal private offices, formal dining room, and an adjacent guest sitting area. Downstairs are guest bedrooms, and below the floor is where we see the laundry room and a very clean engine room. Did you know Edinburgh has a taxi parade, complete with water guns? Kinda cool, no pun intended. Okay, not that big a deal. After all, I admit we missed the big event in the city, the world-famous Fringe Art Festival, typically held in August. At that time, the population of Edinburgh doubles as people come into the city to enjoy thousands of different shows, staged with tens of thousands of performances across hundreds of venues. I guess we'll have to go back in August. But there's more to Edinburgh than just some facts. It's a city with medieval European charm, interesting buildings and streets to explore, with part of another city ruins to see underneath the old city. We walk down the Royal Mile from the historic Edinburgh Castle with all its walls on one end of the street to the official British monarch's summer home in Edinburgh, Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II's Palace of Holyrood House on the other end. Both sites deserve a visit, and you can walk the mile if you prefer. As a reward, there's some nice shops and a few pubs here and there waiting for you in between. A good time to find a nice Scottish cashmere sweater and try out a great dessert. I did both. There are many other sights to see while we're in Edinburgh, and one of them we visit is the Scott Monument. This 200-foot-high monument was completed in 1848 to honor the famous Scottish writer considered in English literature to be the father of historical novel, Sir Walter Scott. At the base of the monument is the statue of Scott with his favorite deerhound, Maida. That's a tall dog. Did you know deerhounds may reach 28 to 32 inches at the shoulder and weigh 75 to 110 pounds, second only to the Irish wolfhounds? I hope you enjoyed the short tour of Edinburgh. Scotland is particularly special to me. I was always told by my mother that she was 100% Scottish and proud of it. So I've always been interested in going to Scotland to see the same sights that my ancestors may have seen. I'm glad I did. Now let's take a short overview of the beautiful landscape to explore across the different regions of Scotland we mentioned earlier. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Of the 4 remaining areas of Scotland we explore, each has their own special beauty. I get an unexpected opportunity to catch a beautiful sunset over the North Atlantic Ocean as we ferried over toward the main Orkney Island. Moments later, we encounter a spectacular and dramatic view of the 137-meter, it's 449 feet, sea stack called the Old Man of Hoy. As the sunlight peeks out of the clouds over the end of Hoy Island, the colors magically change. Ahead, we see a little lighthouse directing us to the main island. Ultimately, we are arriving at Stromness, a charming seaside village to visit a close friend. We'll come back to Orkney later. For now, let's go back to the mainland, into the third area, the Highlands. It is quite different from the cities in central Scotland. Here there are herds of sheep quietly grazing along one side of the road, and colorful yellow Scotch broom bushes and open field vistas on the other. What a contrast. Combined with dramatic skies, it simply takes our breath away. Now we travel across the eastern portion of the Highlands to the Grampian area to see the Dunnottar Castle ruins on the edge of the North Sea. We didn't go there just to see the castle ruins on their own, although they are interesting. There are multiple buildings that give you a glimpse of a community over 600 years ago, but the location, High on a cliff by the North Sea is the real attraction. The views are spectacular. A wide expanse of the North Sea is in front of us, and below the water pounding on black rocks. As we look north, we see summer flowers on the cliff beside the castle, and the sun peeking through the clouds revealing the green grass in a distant field. It's mesmerizing. Even when the skies open up, and as you can hear and see, we're drenched in a pounding windswept rain. We finally reached the west coast of Scotland and are approaching the Isle of Skye. We're told to be sure and go to this area if you're looking for a location that has all the terrains of Scotland in one compact place. We spend our time exploring the Trotnes area, which is the north finger of the island of Skye. It's an easy day trip to drive around the entire coastline of this portion of the island, including stopping and taking in landscape that represents a little bit of all the Scotland regions. This day is providing us a wonderful variety of scenic settings. We see beautiful villages like Oig and Portree by the sea with their charming ports, unusual terrain that seems like it could be from a fantasy movie. Along the Oig side of the coast, we see open windswept fields facing the North Atlantic Ocean. Quarring, on the Portree side of the island, are rocky but green mountaintops that give us an amazing vista to see the North Atlantic Sea, outer islands, and several lochs collecting water to return to the sea. We find a small loch soon afterwards that leads us to a dramatic view of Kilt Rock and Kilt Falls, a beautiful waterfall this loch feeds, spilling into the sea. As we gaze out over the sea to the outer islands, we wish we had more time to explore. But not now, hopefully another time. As you just witnessed, the beauty of Scotland definitely catches your attention, and we didn't show you our time on the Orkney Islands. We only showed you the ferry ride over to Stromness. But there are plenty of scenic spots we visited as we explored the Orkney Islands, and we want to show those to you now. But visiting the Orkney Islands goes far beyond just taking in the beautiful scenery and Neolithic history. We explore local Stromness daily life, see a local high school play in Kirkwell, and learn about the 1919 incident at Scala Flow where a German Navy commander scuttled 52 of his own ships to avoid surrendering them to the British. We see the beautiful Magnus Cathedral in Kirkwell, and on the outskirts we visit an Italian chapel built by Italian prisoners of war during World War II. We also have time to catch up and have some great meals with our friend. But the most intriguing experience we have is visiting a discovery site from 1850, when a huge storm hit the island and uncovered an underground civilization that takes us back in time over 5,000 years ago to 3100 BC. This is a time before the Egyptian pyramids or Stonehenge were built, and long before any Vikings came to Scotland. The discovery is called Skara Brae. We see intact living areas, including personal artifacts that remain from the best preserved ruins of Neolithic civilization in Western Europe. Beside Skara Brae sits the Scale House. At this house, the laird, from the time of the discovery, made sure that Skara Brae has been protected for over 170 years. William Graham Watt, the seventh laird of Scale House, and the lairds after him have preserved this site, so we have the opportunity to learn about how people lived in this ancient period. This site is the best preserved example of Neolithic settlements in all of Western Europe. In sites nearby, we visit other ancient remains of this period of history: the Ring of Brogar, the Standing Stones of Stennis, and the Maeshowe Neolithic chambered cairn from 2800 BC that contains, of all things, Viking graffiti. I guess graffiti isn't anything new. It's too much to cover it all now, but if you want to learn more, go to our website, thesurprisetraveler.com. When our friend, Grazina, and I visit the Skull House, we get a pleasant, unplanned surprise. We get to interact with some of the birds in the Falconry. Let's take a look. First of our birds of prey, we see a lanner falcon in action. These pictures are in slow motion so that you can at least see the bird go by.
He's not as fast as a peregrine, but he's not far off of it.
He's fast.
Woo. Wow. He's doing well today.
Wow. Its mission is accomplished when it tags the meat on the end of the line. The handlers are kind enough to give us a chance to interact with the birds, and we're all in. They start by getting a Harris hawk to fly from one handler to the other, with one of us ready to let the hawk land on our arm. You realize I don't have a clue as to what this bird is or isn't going to do. Now we meet some owls. Look at the talons, claws on this eagle owl. And the size, weight, and beauty of this bird. I love those eyes.
Relaxed, isn't he?
Yeah, if you're relaxed, he's relaxed.
Yeah.
If you're tense and you're nervous, he can sense that,
Yeah.
and
Most
it's when they
animals,
tend
just
to
sense it.
bait off the fist.
That is
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
That is great. He's got a lot of hair. Go for it.
Now I'm holding a barn owl. It's a beauty too, light and with such fine finish to
They're
its
really
feathers.
territorial as well. They once they find somewhere that they want to live, once they find somewhere to live, they will hunt within a mile or two.
And that's it.
Yep.
The funniest bird we meet is the crested caracara that makes us laugh every time it says hello. In fact, it makes me laugh just to say the name. But the cutest bird of all, at least for me, is the boo-book owl. The name alone is enough to make you fall in love with it.
Backlit.
You ever go for a ride on the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, the dog gets too close sometimes, so they just bounce on her backside and she shoots off like a bullet.
We have something new for you in this episode. We have a new segment of the show called The Local Spotlight, and that's what we're going to get into now. In this new segment, we talk to individuals that live in the country we're visiting to get a more intimate understanding of their interests and stories that they have to tell. Today we have Alex Mckinven with us, an exceptional local guide from Campbeltown, Scotland, historian and author of the book Kit and Caboodle on the history of footballing in Campbeltown, Scotland. Campbeltown is located on the southernmost part of the Kintyre Peninsula west of central Scotland. Alex is going to share some fun background about Scotland, Campbeltown, and their relationship to American history as he can only tell. Alex, thank you for joining us. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself?
So my name is Alex Mckinven. I'm born and bred in Kintyre, in Campbeltown. Never ever thought of leaving the place because it's an absolute gem of place to raise your family. I've been involved in the community all my life. I was a distribution tradesman with British Gas initially, and then I worked my way on to the staff and became district clerk for the whole area. So my calling was in administration rather than tools. I found that out as I went along. But I've always been involved in the community, should it be football or the history walks. I take the history walks. I'm the fundraiser for the music festival. I run the Old Pals with a senior citizens group, and it goes on and on and on.
Okay. I saw that you wrote this book about football. You must be a real football fan.
Yes, that was my love when I was a kid, so it stayed with me.
Okay.
But, I was on in the old Scottish football website, and lo and behold, this message came up saying my grandfather, when he was 23 years old, went to the United States to play in the National League. Well, I thought, that's great. And he played for Philadelphia.
Oh, he did? He did?
Yeah, he played for Philadelphia. So I
All
said,
right.
can I copy, it's a long story, can I copy that? But I never heard back from them. Probably tonight I'll get it. Yeah, you can copy it, but he had a whole story about living in Philadelphia and playing in the National League for the Philadelphia soccer team. And this is way back in 1923, so it's no.
Wow. They had a soccer team back in 1923?
Yeah, they had. Yeah.
Maybe, Alex, you could start off by giving our viewers a little bit of a sense of where Campbeltown is in relationship to the country of Scotland, and maybe some reasons that they might want to come and visit that area.
Yeah, Campbeltown is way out on the west coast. The Kintyre runs the whole length of the Clyde, the Firth of Clyde, which is a massive body of water, which is close to the mainland, Scotland. So The Firth of Clyde separates mainland Scotland from the peninsula of Kintyre. It's a 40 long mile peninsula, a narrow peninsula, which points towards Ireland. And at the very southern point, it's 11 mile from the coast of Ireland. So if you go to Southend, aptly named the south end of the peninsula, there is a village called Southend. You can sit on the sands at Southend and look at the houses in Northern Ireland. It's that close. It is an area which is famous for golf courses, famous for the fishing industry, but massively famous for the making of whiskey. So basically that is Kintyre. It is a lovely place to live.
It seems like it's just a very beautiful area.
It is. It's a salt-flung area right on the Atlantic coast, and there is absolutely, other than the island of Islay, there is nothing between us and Nova Scotia. So it can be a rather windy place, but the effects of the wind and tide is that we've got beautiful beaches, the whole length, both sides of the peninsula. White sands, lovely it is, yeah. And the modern day surfers use it as well, which is a very unusual experience to see all the surfers turning up from the central belt of Scotland to use the beaches. That's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful place. Yeah.
Oh,
Wonderful.
yeah? Now, what about the temperature of the water? I've heard it's a little cool in the North Atlantic.
Oh, it's a little cool, yeah. I've never gone to. Yeah, it can be very cold. You know, it's the Atlantic. The Atlantic temperatures that you're getting, and that's very, very cold, you know. But we do swim in it, you know, but we've got our own swimming pool.
Alex, I understand there's a connection between Campbeltown and America that goes way back to the Revolutionary War.
Campbeltown people founded a community in Cape Fear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a town called Fayetteville. It's named after Lafayette, the great French man that assisted the Americans in the War of Independence. It's a city about 400,000 people in North Carolina. That was called Campbeltown, North Carolina, up until the War of Independence. It was founded in 1738 by Campbeltown people at Cross Creek. There's a huge Scots connection in North Carolina. I travelled out to the Appalachians to take in a bit of the culture there. There's a lot of Highland games and Gaelic culture in North Carolina, believe it or not. The biggest Highland games in the world is in North Carolina, Grandfather Mountain.
Alex, let's jump back to Scotland and find out more about Campbeltown. Our viewers found out about the Neolithic Skye Brae ruins on the Orkney Islands earlier in the show. Do you have similar ruins in your area?
Kildonnan is, I call it Kintyre Skye Brae. It's a fortified farmstead. The common man would try and defend himself in his own dun, which was a stone fortification. Kildonnan dun is beautifully preserved, you know, and it goes back to roughly 600 years before Christ. I didn't mention Campbeltown Cross because it is the outstanding artefact, because I wanted to speak about it on its own. In the middle of Campbeltown, there's this large Celtic cross. It's the finest, it's the largest and finest example of a Celtic cross on mainland Argyll. It has wonderful designs. On one side, it takes you back to Druid times, and it shows you the leaves or the trees of the forest on one side of the cross, very intricately chiselled out on the cross. And on the other side, facing the sea, it's all Christian symbols. The dish head is an example of the solstice of the sun. So it's if somebody looking for salvation and they were keeping their options open, it was all there on the one cross. You had the Druid symbols, you had the obviously the sign of the solstice of the sun, and then you'd all the saints on the other side. And one of the saints, believe it or not, is a woman, and she is Saint Mary the Magdalene. But one of the nice tales about it is that if you couldn't find a priest or a minister to marry you, on Beltane, which is 1st of May, when the ceremony took place, the summer's day, the 1st of May, you could go to Campbeltown Cross with your girlfriend, lover, whatever, hold hands and circumnavigate the cross in a clockwise direction and sign the Bible, and that was you married for 1 year. You had that one trial year, but on Beltane, on the next year, if you didn't fancy the year before, you could go back and go around in an anti-clockwise direction and dissolve the marriage.
They had all their bases covered with this cross.
Right to this day. When I get married, the car I was travelling in passed the church, and I thought, what's happening here? And these days I wasn't interested in history in the least. And the car went down and circumnavigated the cross before it went back to the church. So every marriage in Campbeltown circumnavigates the cross before you're married, and to recognise this old custom.
That's a cute story. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Great one to probably end with. So,
Yeah.
well, again, thank you for all of your help and for sharing such wonderful stories with us and giving us such great information that we would have otherwise not known anything about. So thank you.
No, that's it. Anytime at all. If you want to come by, just give me a shout anytime.
Geez, Scotland seemed to be here and gone before I knew it. But here we are. It's already time to take a peek at our next episode. Let's head to South Great Britain and spend some time in England, home to royalty and the strongest British tradition in both the real and imaginary realms. Here we explore medieval to modern historical landmarks, institutions, and other sites we uncover in our travels to England. And not to make too fine a point, but Brazina makes sure we take every opportunity to explore all things royal. My focus is more on the art and fantasy side of this country, from finding out from friends in southern Scotland about an important historical theatre in Portsmouth to seeing where multiple worldwide British TV series productions were shot, including the wizardly world of Harry Potter. I'm into checking it all out. There are a lot of fun surprises we find in this adventure. Come join us. Let's just have some fun. Looking forward to seeing you next episode. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to go on your own adventures, even if it's in your own neighborhood. But please stay safe as you explore this amazing world we all live in. Let's catch a last surprise or two as we roll the credits.
Oh, look at these guys. I think they think somebody's coming for them.